All right, we've got some breaking news here. Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency, our old friend Elon Musk, who is no longer there, but his people are still there in Doge and Social Security and DHS and the IRS and all over the place. They've set up a new system that could be very, very, very dangerous for you, your family, your friends in terms of your financial life. This gets kind of complicated. If you don't know how the system works on the inside, I worked inside the system for over 20 years, and I know how the system works and how fragile it is in these particular circumstances and how your financial life, your credit cards that could be shut down, you could lose your ability to get a social security card to work, your bank mortgage could be canceled. They could basically said you're no longer exist in the system. And this is the system that the Doge people have just set up. This is new reporting that just came out. I was going to talk about COLA and the attempt to change COLA in the future, but this got pushed to the front as breaking news. Okay, so again, this is a bit complicated, but I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on, what they're trying to do, and most importantly, how to protect you and your family to make sure your financial life isn't pretty much ruined and you probably heard of all those people that the Social Security Administration, their bank, and their mortgage, and everybody said, "Oh yeah, according to whatever, you're deceased," and they had to bring everything back to life. This is essentially what we're talking about now, but Doge has set up a new system that's going to make it, unfortunately, a lot easier for them to do that and cause trouble. All right, so there's two major groups that really need to be careful. And I'm going to explain how this happens, and then I'm going to explain. So this is going to be a little bit long, and I'm also going to continue a live Q&A because it gets kind of complicated. I'll stay here for an hour, 20 minutes or whatever, and answer any questions you have about the internal workings and how to protect yourself on all this. So if you have a live question, make sure you type it into live there, into the live chat. If you're watching this on a video, make sure you subscribe. I do these videos live pretty much every day, 3 o'clock East Coast or West Coast time, 6 o'clock East Coast time. So tomorrow I'll go back to we'll talk about the COLA. Then I'll do a live Q&A for the rest of the hour. And so if you have any follow-up questions, if you disagree, whatever the case may be, please join me at that time or any other time. Okay, so here's what we got. We all know about Elon Musk and Doge going into Social Security and saying, hey, there's millions of people, deceased people that are receiving Social Security benefits. He has finally walked that back and said, no, okay, that's not true. Was there millions of people that the Social Security Administration, their numinant, which does not pay Social Security, are those open? Yes, they were open. Were those people receiving Social Security benefits, monthly benefits? No, they were not, because the actual record that pays is called the MBR, the Master Beneficiary Record, that was closed out. But the numinant, Social Security is very, very, very particular about closing those things out. You need an actual death certificate to actually close those things out. And some of those millions of records, some of them were incorrect. They were just typed in wrong back in the 1960s and 1970s. Person passed away overseas. So the Social Security Administration shut off the money, but they can't shut down that record because they don't have an official death certificate. That's the only way they're allowed to shut down that particular record. They've asked Congress several times, hey, can we shut these things down, without a death certificate? And Congress says no. Okay, can you give us money so we can, work these things and, get them addressed appropriately? And Congress says no, because they wanted that as essentially a club to beat up on Social Security on a regular basis. So they knew about that. Elon Musk went in there, oh my gosh, all these people are receiving benefits. It was never true. And he finally admitted it a couple of days ago on the Joe Rogan show. Okay, so what they're doing now, instead of having just this master death file, they are setting up this extra code that they can use pretty much willy-nilly. The DHS, ICE, IRS, whoever, looks like they're going to have access to this code. And here's the thing. Here's what you need to watch out for. So if you're anybody in America, if someone is working under your Social Security number, So we've got, millions of undocumented immigrants in the United States. Some of them get a temporary, number from the IRS, and so they can pay taxes because the IRS doesn't care if you're in this country legally or illegally. They want you to pay taxes. That's their job, is to collect taxes, right? So some people are in there, paying taxes and not here legally, but they are paying taxes. But there's others that have a Social Security number that they bought at the local swap meet, got a Social Security card, and it just might be yours. And what might happen is if that person gets picked up and they have a Social Security number they were using, DHS, ICE, whoever can put it into the system, flag it, and that might be your Social Security number. And then you're going to be contacted by your bank, just as for decades and decades and decades. If you were determined to be deceased, then that information would go throughout the financial world, and your bank would be closed down, your bank accounts would be closed down, your mortgage company would say, hey, sorry about your passing, whatever, and everything would be shut down. So with this new code, they just might be able to do that. So we have to be careful. So how do you stop that? So this is the first group of people, and there's another group of people that's even in more kind of at risk. We'll get to here in a second. So how do you do that? How do you know if someone is working under your Social Security number? There's a lot of people that say, well, I want someone to work under my Social Security number, because if they work under my Social Security number, they pay into Social Security, pay FICA taxes, which they do. Undocumented immigrants pay over $30 billion into Social Security. It's a donation, because they're never getting it back unless they become naturalized or become, legal later. But over $30 billion is paid into the Social Security Trust Fund by people working under incorrect Social Security numbers. And Social Security says, well, thank you for the donation. 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, when you file for retirement benefits, you ain't getting it because you're not in this country legally. Thank you for the donation, okay? And people say, individual people say, yeah, they come on my live Q&A and they said, Ed, I looked at I just got my statement, and it said that I, made twice as much as I actually did. What's going on? And I said, well, you can check with Social Security, go into go into SSA.gov, set up a My Social Security account, and you can see in there, and it says, oh, someone was working at some landscaping company or some factory or whatever the case may be, and in a completely another city, a completely another state, but they were using your Social Security number, and they were paying FICA tax and paying into yours. And now if you're receiving Social Security benefits, your benefits are gone up. And you're like, heck yeah, I'm getting more money. You are, until they find that person and shut down that record. And then then they're going to take those earnings out of your CQE, your earnings query, your earnings record. And they're going to say, you overpayment. You should have told us that wasn't your money, so you have to pay all that money back. So that happens all the time. So you have to check your earnings record. Make sure you go into SSA.gov, set up an account, My Social Security account, and check that on a regular basis. You can't check this year. So if someone grabbed your Social Security number at the local flea market and is working under it, for this year, you won't know about it essentially until 2025, until they, go through the whole tax thing and the IRS finds out that someone's working under your record, and then that situation. So you need to get that addressed, because if that person, wherever they are in the country, if they're rounded up by ICE, the Department of Homeland Security, and they see a Social Security number on this person, they'll put it in the system, that'll connect to Social Security, and everything could be shut down. Your information could be shut down. So it's important that you keep up on your earnings record to make sure. What we should do, rather than have to be paranoid and stressed about that, we should contact our politicians and say, this is BS. Social Security has always been super vigilant in making sure they didn't close down people's records like that. That's why those 10 million or so records were actually left open, because Social Security says, we are not 100% for certain this particular Social Security number, sure, it says this person was born in 1875, but maybe in 1975, when this kid was born, someone actually put 1875 just, the old IBM Selectric 2 typewriters or whatever the case may be, the old Remington or whatever, they accidentally typed 1875. So we're not 100% for sure that this person was, actually it's 1875, which predates Social Security essentially, or it was just a typo in 1975. And maybe that kid is out there. Maybe they, out there working and whatever the case may be. So Social Security has always been very, very, very meticulous about closing those things down unless they know 100% for sure that person is deceased. So that's why all those records were left out there. But now, with this new special indicator code that they've come up with, all bets are off. So it's very, very important. So I would recommend maybe reach out to your politicians and say, no, this is too dangerous. There's can be too many mistakes. DHS, ICE, putting stuff in the system. They find, something and it turns out to be mine and it ruins my entire financial life. And it becomes a nightmare. What happens when that happens, it's called a resurrection. Social Security calls it a resurrection. The management at Social Security always said, don't call it a resurrection, but that's what Social Security employees call it. When you are incorrectly listed as deceased, it happens. You've probably seen that in the news anytime in the last few decades. What it usually is a funeral home. They report, create the death certificate and everything, and they report the passing of the person, and they mistype the Social Security number. Instead of the last two being 12, they accidentally type 21 for someone that passes away in Portland, Oregon. And then the next day, someone in Bradenton, Florida, all of a sudden, all their financial life is ruined because they're deceased, because someone in Portland, Oregon typed the Social Security number wrong. You've probably seen that in the news sometime in the last few decades. It happens all the time, unfortunately. Not as often. It doesn't. It always makes news, but it doesn't happen very often. In my office, the third busiest Social Security office in the country, we probably had 2 or 3 of those resurrections every year. And again, ours was the busiest. Probably about 2, 1 or 2. Yeah, it wasn't very much. Sometimes it went up. Recently, it sounds like it's going up a little bit more because of Doge going in there and starting to do something with those. So I think there's a lot of mistakes happening there, but not for sure on that because they're not providing any information. But what happens is when you become deceased like that, then you have to go down to the Social Security Administration. That's the first starting point, and resurrect your Social Security number. So you go down there with your ID, and the Social Security employee checks and says, okay, yeah, it looks like, somebody in Portland, Oregon mistyped it, and you're actually here. Here's your ID, check your ID, yada, yada. And then they resurrect you, and that's step 1 of 47 steps that people have to do. Then they have to contact their banks and their mortgage companies and their electric companies and all this other stuff. So anybody if you've ever been resurrected from Social Security from being deceased, please type your comments in the YouTube chat there to let us know how difficult it was. But that happened very few and far between. With this new system that they're coming up with, I think it's going to happen a lot more often than it has historically. Okay, so generally, pretty much everybody needs to make sure this doesn't happen, make sure they, have controls over this, and then make sure nobody's working under your Social Security number. Check as best as you possibly can. The other group of people that are even more in danger are the people that came to the United States as immigrants, legal, illegal, predominantly legal. They came into the United States legally. They had a temporary work visa, or they had H-1B visa or marriage visa, or whatever the case may be. And they had that green card, and they were 100% legal, and they went and got a Social Security number, and that was 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, and everything is awesome. And since then, they've changed their legal status. So they were, had their green card, and it was kind of temporary. It was good for 5 years, and they renewed their green card, or they had a green card, and then they became naturalized U.S. citizens. When you become a naturalized U.S. citizen, Social Security office throughout the country used to, I don't think they do anymore. My office used to do it on a regular basis. We used to go down to the naturalization ceremonies. And once someone became naturalized and raised the right hand and became an American citizen, we said, okay, now you need to update your Social Security card, your Social Security record, to show that you're no longer under this temporary status. Now that you're naturalized, you're a U.S. citizen. So you need to update that. A lot of people don't. A lot of people, when they come into the Social Security Administration and they get their new Social Security number after being, admitted into the country legally, they get their Social Security number, and 3, 4, 5 years later, they update their green card, but they don't contact Social Security, which, it's not an issue. Up until now, it's not been an issue. But now with DHS and ICE and everybody having that special indicator, they are going in there. They've already gone through there and closed out thousands of people. So this is their attempt to, they say, kind of voluntarily deport people. So they are looking through the system because they have access to all the systems now. They're looking through the system and they're saying, yep, this person right here, we don't think this person is in the country legally, so we'll just go ahead and shut down everything. And those people will self-deport. And no due process, that's for the old days due process, I guess. So they've already done that thousands and thousands of times. So if your record is incorrect in there, if you need to update it with Social Security, how do you do that? It's through an SS5. Pretty easy to do that. Let me go ahead and pull that up here. So if you need to update your Social Security, you just download this form, the application for Social Security card. Most people, if they're just looking for a replacement Social Security card, you can do that online. So you don't have to go for just a replacement. But if you've got a name change or something like that, or you're changing your legal status in the United States, you actually have to go down to the local Social Security office or send in your documents, which I probably wouldn't recommend, but you need to go down and get this updated. So if you came into the country under a particular status and you got your Social Security number and you're all legal and everything is good, and then 3 or 4 or 5 years later your green card expired and you had to update it and you have a new status, I would probably contact Social Security and update your Social Security card. Definitely, if you became a naturalized citizen, I would 100% update your Social Security card. A lot of people, they just say, I used to tell people, it's not a big deal. You're 4 or 5 years away from your retirement age. Once you go in and file for retirement benefits, you can just bring your naturalization certificate at that time. That's what I've been telling people for the past year or two, and when they ask me about that particular thing. But now I would say, you should update it as soon as possible. And that way you don't get caught in that drag net there by ICE and DHS and they start closing records down because they see that, oh, this person had a green card and it expired 4 years ago. They don't look that you're now naturalized or whatever the case may be. So you just download this form. It's the SS5. And you're like, application card. I've already got a card. I've already got a number and everything like that. No, this is if you have to update. You're going to have your name and everything. You're not going to get a new Social Security number. Almost nobody gets a new Social Security number unless you're in witness protection or something like that. If the FBI comes with you to the Social Security office, then you're going to get a new Social Security number. But you'll get the same Social Security number, and you just need to update your citizenship. So take your certificate of naturalization down there, your updated green card with your new status or whatever the case may be, and just update your legal status in the United States with Social Security. And that way that doesn't happen. Okay. So for everybody else, just you have to keep an eye on your earnings record to make sure nobody is working under your Social Security number. So you can do that for 2024. Is hopefully you've already checked. You should check always. I tell people almost every time I do a live video here, I always tell people, hey, you have to check your earnings record because number one, that's how they determine how much you're going to get when you file for retirement benefits, disability benefits, your surviving spouse, your children, or whatever the case may be is determined by how much you actually paid into Social Security. And if your earnings record is incorrect, you're going to get the incorrect amount for the rest of your life. And it's so much easier to fix your earnings record if you do it immediately within a year or 2 years. If you wait, it's far more difficult. It's possible, and if you need help with that, this is what this live Q&A is for pretty much every day. But that's the number one thing, to make sure you get the correct benefit amount for the rest of your life. But it's also important for 2024, you can check to see if, oh, wait a second here, I made $50,000 last year, but it says $75,000. Looks like someone somewhere in the country is using my Social Security number. So you contact Social Security and you essentially disavow those earnings and you say, hey, yeah, that extra, what, $25,000, whatever, that's not mine. And they will take that out and they will put it in a suspense file. That person, will still be paying into Social Security. It'll just be in a suspense file. So Social Security will gladly take that person's donation. They'll never get benefits unless they become legal, but at least it'll be off your record. And unfortunately, if your benefit amount has increased because of that, then Social Security is going to say, hey, you have an overpayment and we paid you an extra $30, $40, $50 a month, extra because of those extra earnings, and those earnings aren't yours. So you need to pay that money back. And there's a process to go for overpayment. So if you get one of those, again, come back here. Make sure you subscribe, and that way you can find us here again. If you have any family, friends, relatives that are running into this problem, this is what we do here. We have the best community on the internet that help people with all things Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, Section 8 housing, all the rest of it. Veterans Affairs, we're adding a Veterans Affairs person here pretty soon. All right, let's get into some questions here. How is someone given my Social Security number? They're not given, they essentially just, go down to the local swap meet or whoever, buy it online. And if you're the luck of the draw and they have to use a Social Security number, and they just happen to use yours at random, or they pick it out of the garbage or whatever the case may be, find it on the dark web, that looks, you're kind of the same age as that person, and they say, oh, here's a good Social Security number you can use. And that's what they do. What they should do is, when those people, they're in this country illegally, and they go to work, they round up the people that are in this country illegally, but they should also, if you ask me, you should round up the people that hired those people. And the reason they hired those people is because they know, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, that there are people in this country illegally, and they can pay them even less. So people always say, oh, this person, is the undocumented immigrant, stole my job. Well, they didn't steal your job. Your boss fired you and hired someone so that the boss could make a whole bunch more money, and they're supposed to check. The bosses are supposed to check. Social Security has a system called E-Verify, and they're supposed to check whether that person working for them is actually in the country legally. And a lot of employers just, oh, yeah, I know this one is incorrect, but let me run through, or it's a lot of states, it's not even mandatory. So it should be mandatory. So let's see. Someone had my Social Security number. I almost went to jail for welfare fraud, and I couldn't get a new number. Yeah. Again, Social Security, very, very difficult to get a new Social Security number. Very, very difficult. Pretty much witness protection. You're being, harassed by an ex or something like that. But people, mess up their Social Security or their financial credit history and stuff like that, and they're trying to always get a new Social Security number to start a new life. No, Social Security, once you have your Social Security number, then it's almost impossible to get fixed. You just have to fix whatever it is. Yeah, so it's very, very difficult, if not impossible, to get a new Social Security. It is possible, but yeah. Probably, again, in my office, we probably had 1 or 2 new Social Security numbers issued a year. So, and it's usually someone that came in under, with the FBI. Yeah. We shouldn't have to keep up with it. The government should have to, since they allowed this to happen. 100%. Yes, 100%. So, when illegals do this, it hurts us, sick to both parties. Yeah, and I also want to, be clear that, it's anybody working under your Social Security number. It's not only, again, people mess up on their credit history and stuff like that, and they grab a new Social Security number, and because of this new special flag thing that they arbitrarily started, which they also did it illegally. What they're supposed to do when they do something major like this, they're supposed to announce it. Hey, we're coming up with this new crazy system. And we need public comment. We want politicians to talk about this and, prove it or disprove it, or, whatever the case may be. We want people to, chime in on this new policy. They didn't do that. They passed it, and then they said, oh yeah, we already did this, which they can't do that. So, Nursing home gave wrong name to funeral home on one estate I worked on. Yes, and Social Security has, anytime that happens in your city, you will notice as part of, the local news when they talk about, oh, local man was, listed as deceased by Social Security, and it caused all this, chaos and havoc in this person's life. And we reached out to Social Security and they had no comment. That is Social Security's official comment, is they have no comment because, it happens. To be fair to Social Security, it's usually the funeral home or the coroner's office that reports that. So what happens is when you pass away, the funeral home, the coroner's office in that particular state contacts the state coroner's office, the state entity, and the state entity contacts Social Security. The computers talk to each other, and Social Security then notifies the Department of Treasury. And if you're getting Social Security benefits, that's when they, hey, you passed away, but you already got paid and you weren't entitled to that pay. And the Department of Treasury just goes in there and yanks it out, and so you don't get overpaid and all the rest of it. So people ask about all that time, but it's an automatic process. So it's very difficult to figure out, who did what, and so Social Security says, it's too much trouble to figure out, who is to blame, and whatever. It happens. It doesn't happen very often. And Social Security, again, is very, 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 very particular about shutting those records down. That's why those millions of records weren't shut down. Again, they weren't being paid. They were shut down over here. This is the important part. The MBR was shut down. The Numident was not, because you actually have to have a death certificate to shut down the Numident. That's, Social Security has to go by policy. But now policy is, whatever Doge says it is. You have to make them care. Your call is recorded and registered and discussed when they all meet about different things. Constituent concerns. Please call a life person. We'll talk. I'm going to do something. I'll get back to the COLA thing we're going to talk about tomorrow. And then I also want to talk about something else that, these files, and that is a kind of a wake-up call for all the people trying to save Social Security and all the rest of it. But I'll talk about that in a couple of days. A lot of YouTubers are covering this Medicare issue now. I know what Medicare issue. If you're already retired and not working and you have no earnings except for Social Security income and a pension, can someone still get your Social Security income? Well, your Social Security income, if you're retired, and it doesn't matter. If someone at random is using your Social Security number, and they're, arrested, swept up by ICE or DHS or whoever, and they can close down your Social Security number with this new system. And so your Social Security check will stop and everything, your pension will stop and all the rest of it. So you'll have to go down to the Social Security Administration and resurrect yourself. We see that. We already see the resurrections happening more often than previously, but we're not 100% sure because they're not really providing that information. So, Precious Ruby with the new Disneyland characters at the castle. Who knows what will happen? Okay, I'm not sure what all this is about. All right, Jules. Had my Social Security number stolen to collect unemployment in another state during COVID. Found out about it, and the ALJ at my disability hearing was a pain to get through to any customer service to report it. Yeah. So your Social Security, your number was stolen, but it didn't show, you didn't close everything out in terms of, that you were passed, that you were deceased. So it would have been 10 times harder if that's the case. So a lot of people have their Social Security numbers stolen. Doge just put all of the Social Security records, looks like one major database, up on an unprotected cloud. If Social Security employees had done that, they would have been fired immediately, but Doge is, I guess, above the law in a lot of these cases. The current commissioner of Social Security, his part-time job is Social Security. He was just appointed as the CEO of the IRS, so he's, I guess the administration doesn't really care about Social Security. They said, hey, you're in charge of Social Security, but it's not a big deal. We'll make you also the CEO of the IRS, so it gives you an idea of what type of priority they're putting into Social Security. But we used to get people in our office and every office throughout the country that says, hey, someone stole my Social Security number and they're using it. They bought a car or a boat or went on vacation or bought a bunch of stuff at the, Walmart or whatever the case may be. And Social Security has nothing to do with that. Because when Social Security numbers came out in 1935, it was for Social Security. Since then, every financial institution uses Social Security number. They really shouldn't. They should use something different. And my argument is, now that Doge has, for the first time, officially, internally from the Social Security, put all this up on an unsecured database that we don't know what's going on with that. We won't know until we know that since they did it, Elon Musk is the richest person in the history of the world, and it's his people that did it. I would argue that he should pay to get everybody a reissued Social Security number. And that way there can be like a new Social Security number for everybody, which is going to cost a lot of money. So I said, Elon should take responsibility and get it paid. And then your current Social Security number could be used for, financial, you call it a financial service number or something like that. They should have never been used for, Social Security has nothing to do with your bank or anything like that. So with your credit reports, they should have never used a Social Security number. So Social Security can't help you when your Social Security number is stolen and you have an issue with your credit. You go down to Social Security and they say, yeah, we really can't do anything. That's private credit report type things. So, Holly, I've been trying to get through to Medicare with a number above, and I'm getting an AI person. They say it's 20 minutes and it's now over 3 hours. I need to change my Part D information. Yeah, Part D information, chapter Medicare there, they help you with Medicare supplements, Medicare Advantage, but Part D, it's difficult because the companies decided they're not letting agents and brokers deal with those anymore. So yeah, Medicare is crazy this year. Okay, Dr. Ware, I got it. I will keep an eye out for my earnings record and to make sure nobody is working under my record. This administration has brought more chaos. Yeah, so just check your, don't stress about it. Just go in there and check to make sure that, there's not any strange earnings on your earnings record. Again, go into ssa.gov, my Social Security, check your earnings record, make sure everything is legit. And then if it is, then you should be good. So just keep an eye, but make sure you pass the word to everybody else that you know to go in there and check. Let's see. I saw that he put down another reporter. Oh, okay, so we're talking. All right, let's see. Vicky. Well, if someone gets disability, then there shouldn't be a problem because when your check comes out every month, if it's the right amount, you're good to go. Yeah, if it's the right amount, but you have to determine whether that's the right amount by determining, by checking your earnings record. And again, if someone is using your Social Security number someplace, then yeah, that might be an issue. So it's good to be, Kimberly, I keep getting email. Oh, someone says they got a 3-hour wait to chapter. Yeah, I think we might have Ari on tomorrow, the next day from chapter. They're still being inundated. Everybody wants to get them to help them out so they can help them out for the rest of the year. But if try them one more time. They said they've got more availability early in the morning. They're open, 9 o'clock or Monday through Friday, 8 o'clock East Coast time, Saturday and Sunday, 9 o'clock East Coast time. So call them in those first 2 hours. That's when they've usually it's easier to get in, or late at night, Monday through Friday, they're open till 10 o'clock East Coast time, and then 9 o'clock on Saturdays and Sundays. So they're working 7 days a week, pretty much from morning to night, trying to keep up. But remember to be prepared. When you call them up, make sure that you have your 7 Ps ready to make sure you get the best plan for next year, your current plan, your providers that you want to keep, prescriptions, pharmacy, all the rest of it. All right. Let me pull this up. I keep getting email about additional benefits and I don't open it as it looks like spam. I have a Medicare, but not Medicaid. I have a separate card for my $65 a quarter. Yes. So yeah, that's the, those over-the-counter cards, the grocery cards that have been advertised really, really scammy over the years. Those are pretty much going away December 31st. That big program called VBID is going away December 31st. So a lot of people are getting those grocery cards canceled or the amount is reduced considerably. Some people are actually getting a little bit more, but depends what part of the country you live in. So yeah, it's they advertise those. They find the best one in the country, and then they advertise it to the entire country, and hoping you will reach out to them. And then they'll say, "Oh, you don't live in this one particular zip code in East Texas, so therefore you don't get it. And now I've got your number, and we'll sell it to everybody and their mother, and they will never stop harassing you." So yeah, watch out. Mr. B, once a year you get a copy of your benefit letter. That's all you need. But the benefit letter just says how much you're getting. That's your, because of the COLA, it increases, but it's important to go in there and check your earnings record. Your earnings record. That is, if you were working, Social Security determines your benefit amount by your high 35 years of earnings. But if you are retired and you're not working, and all of a sudden in 2024 it says that you're making $20,000, that ain't yours, then make sure you notify Social Security. And regardless, even before this whole fiasco, I always said, if those are not your earnings, you need to notify Social Security. I know it's going to increase your monthly benefit amount, maybe if it's one of your high 35 years, it's going to increase your benefit amount, but they will catch that person and they will take those earnings off of your history and you'll get an overpayment. So it's good to get it correct. So let's see here. Get some other questions. Glenn, what's up, Glenn? After 20 years of being naturalized, how do I know that you need to file an SS5 and what is actually different after filing the SS5? Yeah, no difference. You don't get a necessarily new Social Security card. I think they kind of send you out one and kind of new one, but you don't know on the Social Security card. It doesn't have it on the Numadent on your Social Security card. Your Social Security card comes from your Numadent. This is what Elon Musk didn't know. He was told, I'm sure, but he decided to play ignorant. So on your Social Security card, it just shows your name and, basically your Social Security number, right? Basically, that's all it shows. But internally, on the Numadent, it's called the number identifier. It shows your name, any previous names, maiden names. It shows your parents' names, your mother's maiden name. It shows your date of birth, the city and state you were born, your status in the United States, U.S. citizen, legal resident, whatever the case may be, when your card was issued. If you were issued 3 or 4 cards, and it showed you, okay, a card was issued this year. That's what it shows internally. So just by looking at your Social Security card, you won't know what it shows. If you became naturalized, do you remember when you were naturalized, did the Social Security Administration have a table out there after you raised your right hand and took an SS5 and had you file it and stuff like that, and took a copy of your certificate of naturalization? They had to make the copy. If they did all that, then your record is updated. But if you don't remember, then just call Social Security and say, hey, did I ever update my naturalization with y'all? Did I ever update my, my legal status in this country? No. Oh, okay. Well, I've got a new green card. I've got a new certificate of naturalization. I'm a U.S. citizen now. So I'll go ahead and download the SS5, fill it out, and I'll be there tomorrow type of thing. So Pam, how do they figure family benefits if your spouse dies at a young age and hasn't paid in all the quarters? If someone passes at a young age, so normally if, in your 40, 50, 60s, 70s or whatever, and you pass away, then, you have to have the 10 years, 40 quarters of coverage. You had to pay into it. But people that pass away very early, they could have it, 6 quarters of coverage. So we've had people, unfortunately, on a regular basis, some young father passes away in a car accident and they're only like 25, 26 years old. Obviously, they're not going to have 10 years of, work history. So Social Security takes that into consideration. So if that young father, 24, 25 years old, has 2 kids under the age of 18, obviously, then those children will receive benefits on the father's record, even though the father isn't what we would consider insured because they didn't pay the 10 years. But in terms of younger people like that, if you pass away younger, then Social Security has a different requirement for that. So let's see. I worked with Ari Parker from Chapter yesterday. He was great and saved me lots. Thank you for informing your viewers about Chapter. Really took away the stress of trying to figure out the best option. Awesome, awesome. And remember, the number one reason when my son and I just, we didn't want to get into that whole insurance stuff. But so many people were getting ripped off and, not given the correct information. And probably the biggest reason is because particularly going forward, people with Part D and Medicare Advantage plans, these companies, they're looking for profits. So they're doing those prior authorizations and giving people a hard time. So you really need someone in your corner to help you throughout the year. So the persistence, that's what it's all about. So remember, if you signed up with Chapter, if they found you a plan and February, March, April, May, June, or something like that, you get some type of weird letter you don't understand, they give you a prior authorization, the company gives you a hard time, reach out to Chapter and they will help you out. They'll be on your side. So that's the number one reason we chose them. Let's see. Doge is an exploiter and waste of money. Backwards, it's good. Yeah. In terms of Social Security, Doge did not find any fraud, waste, and abuse. They made a bunch of allegations. They didn't find any. And people are going to say, Ed, are you saying Social Security has no fraud, waste, and abuse? No. My office found fraud, waste, and abuse all the time. It's employees. It's not, tens of millions of vampires receiving benefits after 140 years old, as Elon Musk was talking about. That never existed. I said from day one that didn't exist, and he finally admitted it. It's people that, were working under their disability, that had extra income if they're receiving SSI, and those are individual circumstances, individual investigations that people at the local Social Security office have to send out the paperwork, review that paperwork, maybe send OIG to knock on the door, do all this kind of stuff. But it's just investigative type stuff. But if you don't have people at the local Social Security office, or you overwhelm those people, then those people can't fight fraud, waste, and abuse. So I would argue that fraud, waste, and abuse is probably increasing with Social Security. Because Social Security employees just, are barely, treading water, and they don't have time to go after fraud, waste, and abuse because everybody needs them for, survivor benefits and retirement benefits and all the rest of it. And I would argue that's the goal of politicians. But anyway, so let's see. Rick, I was paid incorrect today with my overpayment, which was supposed to be corrected. Spent 2 hours on the phone to get it fixed. After paying bills, I have $100 to live on for 2 weeks until pension drops. Oh my gosh. So you had it paid incorrect with the overpayment. So yeah, it sounds like somehow Social Security paid you incorrectly, and hopefully you went through the entire process. I've got that on my website, mygovexpert.com. Let me go ahead and show this right now. If you go in this, it's a free website. The only thing we do charge, we've got retired Social Security employees that if you want a one-on-one, we do charge for that, but everything else is 100% free. So overpayment. So Rick, hopefully you did the right thing. If you have an overpayment and you can get it waived. So there's 4 ways to take care of it. Pay it in full, request a waiver, appeal the decision, or request a lower withholding rate. To get a overpayment waived, it's not your fault, and you don't have the ability to repay it. Both of those things have to be met. You have to jump over both hurdles. Even if it's okay, sounds like it's not your fault. They did it incorrectly, but do you have the ability to repay it? Even at, $5, $10, $20 a month. If they say, yeah, we understand we make a mistake, but you can repay it. Then they'll set you up a withholding. They can do it pretty much automatically for 60 months. So, and there's zero interest. There's zero interest on these. So they can do a 60-month repayment plan and have you pay it back. If it's over 60 months, then you'll have to fill out the SSA 632 and provide financial records that says, 60 month is going to be $100 a month. I can't afford that. I can maybe do $10 a month. And then you'll have to provide financial records that's all you can afford. So, and then our other website for your other information on We also have another website that we just started. It's called 24help.org. And this is the discussion forum, the community forum that we've established for y'all to help each other out. So we need your help there. This is brand new. So if you need help or want to help people with retirement benefits, spouse benefits, survivor benefits, you want to help people with disabilities, CDRs, getting a new claim, Medicaid, SNAP, food banks, utilities, Medicare, any of that, make sure you join these discussions. And it's a nice place for people to help each other out. If you're not nice, we will summarily kick you to the curb. Bills. I was just thinking that when Social Security gets 23%, what will happen to COLAs? So what Bill's talking about is the fact that because politicians have not done anything for over 40 years on both sides, we're political in this channel in the sense of politics is about resources, and we want resources to protect Social Security and seniors and disabled people. We're not partisan, whatever particular party. If they have a good idea, we're all for it. But neither parties have. There's ideas, but neither party has actually done it. So because of that, in 87 more checks, so you've got 86 more checks at your full benefit amount. If you're receiving $1,000. You're going to get 86 more checks for basically $1,000. Obviously, you're going to get COLA, but then you're going to get a 23% cut. Because politicians have failed to do anything. So, but in terms of COLA, even when it's cut, COLA still should continue because that's a congressional policy that started in the 1970s that COLAs are essentially automatic. Unless something has changed. But I am going to talk about COLAs. I might do the COLA, the cost of living allowance. I might do that the day after. I might have Ari on here tomorrow. And then we'll harass them a little bit about, hey, how come it's taking our people so long to get into the phone? And since we'll harass them in a nice way. I know it's difficult for them because... and see, Zippy answered right away. Chapter 7:30 p.m. Okay, so that's the trick right there. Later in the day, the difficulty with any of those organizations is they have 53 days. They get a vast majority of their work has to be done in 53 days. So if they hire 5 times more people to help you out, what are they going to do with those people the other 310 whatever days? Yeah. That would be some completely inefficient, and that company would go bankrupt in 3 hours. So yeah, it's difficult. So we've got until December 7th. You got until December 7th. But if you continuously call them, and you don't get a call back, call them one more time early in the morning or late at night, or not late at night. And if you don't get through, then email me. And my email is ed@mygovexpert.com. And say, hey, I tried contacting them. Make sure you include your phone number, because if they can't locate your phone number if they can't confirm that you called them first, they can't call you. It's illegal for them to call you, unlike those other crazy Medicare companies that call you all times, 40 times a day. Chapter does it right. They cannot call you until they can confirm that you called them first. But if you call them, they will see that your phone number is in their system. So if they can't see the phone number in their system, they can't call you. So there's that. This is what we did when we elect businessmen for president with no political knowledge. Yeah. I was so happy when Elon Musk, I'm like, oh, this is a tech guy and he's got these resources and all this kind of stuff. I was looking so forward to him to updating the Social Security computer system and doing some good stuff. But then he went off on a crazy tangent. And so I gave him the benefit of the doubt until then. Yeah, it's since we did our Congress critters care about us, the answer is never, huh? Michael, DLO climbing back again up that I was thinking would climb today. Oh, okay. I'm not sure what that. It's like a tax or it's a investment thing. Social Security does send out emails if you set up your account to receive notification by email. The emails basically tell you to log into your account to review your new notification. Exactly. Yes. And I've always recommended people go in there and go to ssa.gov, set up a My Social Security account. But good thing, Lynn, thank you. If Social Security sends you something electronically, they will send you an email that says, hey, we just put a new letter in your thing. Don't click on that email, on that link, because what we see happening is scammers are out there sending people emails, and it looks like, hey, it looks official that, yeah, we just put something in your Social Security account, click here, and it goes to a completely different website. So if you get one like that and it looks like it's legit, delete it and just go directly to ssa.gov and then go into your My Social Security account from a fresh, rather than clicking on a link. So Twin Maples, Carnivore Homestead. Okay. I'm 66, retired, getting Social Security and Medicare. If I leave the U.S. for a few years and want to stop paying the cost of my Medicare, can I get it started again if I come back? Yes, but you're going to pay a penalty for the rest of your life. Unless you go to some country that has a national health insurance that's considered creditable coverage. Most aren't. But yeah, if you leave the country for 3 years and you decide to stop paying your Medicare, the $185, or next year it's going to be what, $202.90. If you stop paying that, you get out of Part B, and then 3 years later you come back. Number one, you can't sign up for Part B again until the general enrollment period, which is January, February, and March. So if you sign up in January, your Medicare will start February 1st. And then you're going to get penalized for the rest of your life. 10% for every 12 months you didn't have Part B when you were supposed to. And there's also a penalty for Part D, the prescription drug plan. That's based on basically 1% of the national average for every month you didn't have it. So, Rick, I'm thinking seriously about suing my employer for all this stress and aggravation that should not have happened. Many got taken care of. 20 of us are going through. Oh, okay. Not sure what your employer did here. Do you have, let's see here. I'm 72, living abroad, was married 35 years, 5 years separated, found out my wife died this year. Am I eligible for survivor benefits? I would definitely check it out. Yeah, if you were married, just had to be married to the person. So you were divorced or separated or technically still married, whatever. But even if a divorce type situation, you were married for 10 years, still might technically be, never a divorce. If that's the case, then you just had to be married for 9 years. But anyway, but yeah, I would definitely check it out. It really, in your case, it's probably going to depend on the benefit amount. If her benefit amount is more than your current benefit amount, then definitely collect it. Absolutely. So if hers is $1 more, switch to survivor benefits. Hopefully it's 100, 200, 300. It really depends on, her work record compared to your work record. So, let's see, David, anyone know how long it takes for this Social Security to now recognize a phone number? My newish one isn't, and I cannot establish my online account. Yeah. To sign up an online account, it is sometimes a nightmare. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's a nightmare, but this system was started a few years ago, and they're just trying to keep ahead of the scammers. So sometimes it's difficult, but it's good. It's for your protection. So yeah, if you update your system, if you call Social Security and update your phone number, then it should, within the couple of 3 days, it should update and talk back and forth to the web part of it. But yes, I understand sometimes it's a nightmare, but it's a good nightmare, because that system of showing your ID and doing this and confirming all that, it prevents people throughout the world trying to go in there and set up an account in your name. And that's the number one reason. I used to tell people, even if you don't use your online account, your Social Security account, do it, set one up, because when you do, it makes it far, far, far more difficult for someone else to go in there and pretend to be you and set up an account and start causing you trouble. So I always recommended people set up a Social Security account, but now even more so to check your earnings record. So let's see. What reason they have not uncapped the Social Security tax? Someone sent me a nice graphic I should have put up here today on Smash the Cap. So I appreciate the person that sent me that. I'm going to make sure I put that into my regular image rotation. But because why haven't they smashed the cap? Is who's in charge? The rich and powerful. And I'll give you a chart. So if you make $50,000 a year, you're paying FICA tax. Social Security FICA tax is 6.2%. You're paying on every dollar you make. If you make up to $176,100, you're paying FICA tax on every dollar you make. Anything over that, you stop paying FICA tax. So if you're making $500,000 a year, you're only paying 2.18%, but us paying 6.2%. So who do you think doesn't want the FICA cap to be, exactly. The people, the rich and powerful, they don't want to have to pay for that. Nor the owners of, companies and corporations, because remember, the employer pays the other part of it as well. So yeah, they definitely don't want to pay that. Stephanie, I can't get into my Social Security account that I set up. It keeps telling me I have an account, but won't let me in no matter what I try. I sure hope I can live without it. It's a mess. Yeah, you try it. There is Social Security contracted with this private organization. Depends on whether you use the ID.me or the other system. You got to do like a Zoom meeting where you hold your ID up to your face, and so they can check it. And but if push comes to shove and you just can't do it, then unfortunately you will have to go down to the local Social Security office with your ID, and they should be able to reset you if you really, really, really need to have it. But some people just, yeah. And you think a politician can run the country better? I disagree. Yeah, politician, business person, but depends on the person, I guess. I've been trying. Yeah, I mean, Jimmy Carter was a nuclear engineer, right? Super, super smart, but you got to admit, he was a great human being going out there, what was it? Habitats for Humanity, very compassionate person. I've been trying around 2 p.m. the past week and a half, like 4 different times, and I've not got no phone call back in over 3 hours time. Okay, if you're talking about chapter, email me, ed@mygovexpert.com, and say, hey, this is Robert. You told me to email you. I've been trying to get a hold of these guys. Here's my phone number. And I'll forward that to Ari, and Ari will definitely give you a call. So again, if you called, so some people have that caller ID thing where they block it so they can't find it. So if that's the problem, then we'll have to figure out something else. But at least send me an email, and then we'll check it out. Elon is back. Trump threw a big gal at the White House for King of Saudi Arabia. Elon was right there with Trump. Trump said he was glad. He always liked Elon. New project. Oh, gosh. So, yeah. So after this, I might be one of those people that are flagged in their brand new cancel the financial life of Ed Weir. So if you see me disappear one day, you will know I'm trying to resurrect myself. So the chance you have to take in social media. Why are they cutting the check by 23%? Because the trust fund is running out. It wasn't stolen. It wasn't given to undocumented immigrants or Ukraine or anything like that. It's running out of money. If you are receiving Social Security benefits right now, about 10% of your check comes from the trust fund. Just like any savings trust fund, eventually it'll run out, and it's going to run out in 87 more checks. Because these guys haven't done anything to shore it up in the past 40 years. So, because we haven't made them. So, I'm 64 and have been getting a lot of Medicare advertisements. Dr. Ed says I'll be automatically enrolled. I'm healthy, no doctors or medication, so I'll sit tight. I paid dollars for dental. Yes, you will be automatically enrolled in A and B once you hit 65 if you're currently receiving Social Security benefits. If you're currently receiving Social Security benefits, then about 100 days before you turn 65, they will automatically enroll you in Part A and Part B. not the other stuff that covers all the gaps. So there's a lot of gaps in original Social Security Part A and Part B, and people cover those gaps. There's two ways to cover those gaps. The big one is Part B. The Part B has a 20% co-insurance. So, so for 2026, the monthly premium is going to be $202.90, and then there's a co-insurance of 20%. So if you go to the hospital and get a $100,000 Band-Aid, or your doctor and get a $100,000 Band-Aid, you have to pay $20,000 for that Band-Aid. So people get something to cover that. They get either a Medicare supplement plan, also called a Medigap plan. Those are the plans F and N and G and different stuff. Or you can get a Medicare Advantage plan. And nobody can tell you what's best for you until they ask you a bunch of questions and everything. So, yeah, so probably about 3 months before you turn 65, you need to figure out what you're going to do. Do you want Medicare supplement or a Medicare Advantage? Are you a cat or a dog person, truck or, car or whatever? It really depends on your particular situation. So, I set up that new account 6 months ago and now can't get into my new account. Yeah, it's tough sometimes. I will try a couple more times and then just email you. Okay, yeah, I appreciate it. They said probably around now, within the next couple of hours, it's probably going to be easier to get in. So give them a call. And if you're not able, email me. And then when we have Ari on either tomorrow or the next day, we will harass them a little bit. Yeah, they're in an impossible situation in that case. Yeah. So I went before a judge and was granted SSDI with a permanent disability. What kind of chaos can I expect from the government, please? Well, one thing, remember, when you're approved for disability, you'll have your approval letter, and on there it'll say, you're getting this much, and we determine your date of disability, your disability onset date to be this particular date, this month and year. But on there, it should have also had, sometimes it doesn't, it should also have your CDR rotation, which is your medical continuing disability review rotation. So if you have to recertify every year, every 3 years or 5 years, that's what you need to watch out for. And then we've got on 24help.org, I've set up a separate discussion group so y'all can go in there and discuss and say, hey, what should I do to prepare and all the rest of it. So that's y'all's discussion group. It's all free. Go for it. I live in Virginia, and I'm sure what the timing difference to call chapter. Yeah, so if you're in Virginia, that's still East Coast time. So yeah, they're on East Coast time. They are open. Today is the weekdays, so they're open until 10 o'clock your time. So you're not in the west version of Virginia, right? Nancy, what's up, Nancy? I have read something that in 2026, spousal Social Security checks are being cut by 30%. Wonder if this is true. No. I mean, if you file your benefits early, then yeah, that's always been the case. Yeah, there's a lot of social media channels out there that give part of the information and don't know what they're talking about, and those people really need to stop. So let's see. We're over an hour, but I want to see if I've got any I've got some video questions. Let's get into some video questions here. And let's see. We only got a couple of video questions. Oh, wait a second here. Oh, we've actually got one video question.
Hey, Dr. Ed. Thanks for your great advice and your videos and your guidance. I am 62 and I'm starting to pay attention to those things. I applied for Social Security. I'm retired. And I put down my rental property income, as income that I get. And I realized after I submitted the application that I wanted to change the amount because I didn't take into consideration property taxes, insurance, and maintenance, which my accountant advised me that deducting from that would change the net income of my property. So I tried to do it online. It was too difficult, so I made an appointment. I went to the office in the local area in New Bern, North Carolina, and they told me, the clerk told me that that was passive income and that it wouldn't count, the rental property income. So I just left it alone rather than changing it, which it needed to be deduced if that were important. So I received a letter stating that I make too much. It was over the 23,000, whatever it was. It didn't say that it's 23,000, but it just said that I wasn't eligible because my income was too high. And so I guess my account suspended. I learned after I called the local office. They told me.
Okay. All right. So yeah, this is a common thing. So, Airbnb and stuff like that, it's kind of like an investment. That's, you don't have a retirement account from work. So get some homes and you rent them out or something like that. So it's really depend, between you and the IRS, how you list those. But it sounds like you told Social Security incorrectly after you talking to your tax accountant. And then when you talk to Social Security, then they told you something that may or may not be true. It really depends if you reported, $100,000 and that also included net income from business, then that's it, $100,000. If that's how you listed it when you do the IRS. If you just do it as, it's not a full business or anything like that, then that's a whole different thing. But Social Security goes by what essentially the IRS lists. Okay, so super long story short, for your particular case, you just need to do an amended work report and say, I told you all I was going to make, $100,000 this year, next year, whatever the case may be. I'm not going to make that much. I'm going to make $50,000. That's it. They're just go by your reported. So nobody's going to ask you, where is this coming? No, you just say, I messed up. I gave the wrong numbers. I went back and I looked at it and I included some stuff I shouldn't. None of your business. But I am reporting $50,000 or $23,000, or if it's going to be under the annual earnings limit of $23,400. If that's true, then you just do it, and they will put in the system whatever you tell them. When it comes around later, when you actually file your taxes, and if it turns out you file and the IRS notifies Social Security that you did in fact make $100,000, then you're going to have an overpayment. But if you do it the way you're talking about, then it's not going to be an issue. So just call them up and don't give them some story. Just tell them it's none of your damn business. I want to amend my work report. I did it incorrectly. I'm going to make under $23,400, and they'll put it in the system. And if they start asking questions and says, well, if it turns out to be more, if you're right, it turns out to be more, and after I do my taxes between me and the IRS and not you, if it turns out to be more and I do make $100,000, then I guess I'll have an overpayment, and I will pay that overpayment. But for right now, it's whatever it is. So that's how you deal with it. So don't let them giving you, anyway. All right, let's see here. On the Social Security cap, someone making over 500,000 isn't part of the rich and powerful. Yeah, I agree. Well, it's making good money. But yeah, if you're making $5 million, I think I calculated that too. It comes out to like you're paying 0.0012% or something like that. But if you're making $5 million, you're probably not paying any FICA taxes. People that get money from capital gains, here's the travesty of this. If you're making millions and millions of dollars from capital gains, that's not considered income, and they don't pay any FICA tax whatsoever. So they don't contribute. So I don't think, Elon Musk contributes to Social Security at all in terms of his personal income. So if he does, then he caps out. He pays his full Social Security income at probably January 1st at 12:01 a.m. Then after that, he pays no more Social Security FICA tax. So there's that. All right. Yeah, we are way over an hour. Please share this video with anybody and everybody. There's going to be a lot of people out there that get surprised, particularly if you're updating. Someone just put down there that they found their naturalization. What should they do? Just make sure it's updated in the Social Security database. And it also makes your life easier when you go file for retirement or disability benefits in the future, then your record is already updated. Because we have a lot of people that, they get their certificate of naturalization and they should have updated their social security record. And then 10 years later, they've lost it. And those things are crazy expensive, hundreds of dollars to get a new certificate of naturalization. So just go ahead and tell Social Security that you've become naturalized or update your legal status or whatever the case may be. So, all right, that's it for today. Tomorrow, either it's going to be Cola or we're going to have Ari from Medicare to poke him a little bit. But he's a good guy, so definitely help you out. All right, y'all take care, and please take care of each other. Bye-bye.